There are few homes in America as famous or infamous as the Playboy Mansion. And for good reason. Whatever tawdry stuff you think may have happened there, it probably did. So let's dig further and figure out exactly what living in the Playboy Mansion was like. Launched in 1953 with Marilyn Monroe on its cover, Playboy was an instant success. According to the New York Times, all 51,000 copies sold out. After 5 years, the magazine's annual profit was $4 million, and as the company grew, so did its various businesses. In 1960, the first Playboy Club was launched in Chicago and introduced its brand-specific waitresses dubbed bunnies. The concept was a hit, and dozens more of the clubs followed. However, the bunnies weren't just in the clubs. Hugh Hefner also had them in his office inside the Playboy Mansion. The New York Times wrote that in the Playboy offices, quote, life imitated image. However, there were also numerous allegations of abuse, with Holly Madison, Hef's longtime favorite and former Playboy bunny, writing her tell-all memoir Down the Rabbit Hole that the women in the mansion were, quote, merely going through the motions of what life ought to be. While Playboy will forever be associated with pages upon pages of risque photos, it also wasn't afraid to shy away from more intellectual topics in its articles. As noted in the Los Angeles Times, Playboy included interviews with thinkers like Albert Schweitzer and Malcolm X, as well as short stories from such leading writers as John Updike. As for the mansion itself, it seemed to follow suit at times. In an appearance on The Wendy Williams Show, Pamela Anderson had this to say about her experiences at the Playboy Mansion. The Playboy Mansion was like my university. It was full of intellectuals, sex, rock and roll, arts, all the important stuff. By 2000, the mansion began to be used more for fundraisers and political events than wild parties, according to the LA Times. In his later years, while Hef would still host people at the mansion, he also pivoted to more serious gatherings that often featured politicians, like former governor of California, Jerry Brown. For Hugh Hefner, establishing a risque magazine such as Playboy didn't come without its own mob of naysayers. As the New York Times noted, the founder had a troubled relationship with feminist politics, particularly with journalist Gloria Steinem. In the early 60s, Steinem posed undercover as a bunny, even making it into a Playboy Club. She ultimately gathered enough information for a two-part feature for Show magazine titled A Bunny's Tale. In the first part, Steinem wrote that she began her journey after responding to a Playboy ad claiming that girls could earn $200 to $300 a week at a Playboy Club. As it turned out, the pay was nowhere near close, as all the bunnies had to pay for the upkeep of their costumes, makeup, the mandatory false eyelashes, and 50% of the first $30 in tips that they made. Along with the low pay, the girls' treatment wasn't that great either.
It was being presented as a glamorous place. It was not the glamorous place that Hugh Hefner was trying to sell it as.
If they were to go to a Hefner party at his mansion, they couldn't bring any men at all. When Steinem published her piece, it was a sensation. As for Hef's thoughts, he had this to say to the New York Times. There's really no benefit to viewing sex as the enemy. The sex act is some of the best of what we are, as family and as a civilization. The Playboy Mansion was a regular haunt for Hollywood's finest for decades, with wild tales being the absolute norm. Even the staff had stories to tell. Mitch Rosen, one of Hugh Hefner's butlers in the 80s, recalled to The Telegraph how he spoke to Tony Curtis one day. The Spartacus actor revealed to Rosen that he and Marilyn Monroe were sleeping together during the filming of Some Like It Hot. When the film's other star, Jack Lemmon, heard the news, he threw a temper tantrum out of jealousy, according to Rosen. Rosen then gushed to the outlet, "I'll cherish that anecdote and the fact that I was part of the place for the rest of my life." The Playboy Mansion was home to celeb secrets as well. For instance, there was a hidden room in the house dubbed the Elvis Suite. As you may have guessed, the king himself had a decadent night with 8 women there in the 70s, and it stayed off limits to everyone but Hef and Elvis himself. Nestled on 5.3 acres of space and consisting of a whopping 21,987 square feet, we can assure you that life at the Playboy Mansion was never dull. According to Architectural Digest, the 29-room palace was originally built in 1927 in Spanish Colonial Revival and Tudor Revival style. In 1971, Playboy Enterprises finally purchased the mansion for $1.1 million, which was the priciest home sale in Los Angeles history at the time. With all that space, you'd assume that the mansion's amenities were a dime a dozen, and you'd be right. As it turned out, the Playboy Mansion was one of the very few LA homes to actually have a zoo license, with exotic birds, monkeys, and various other kinds of animals on the property. If that's not all, the luxurious abode was also the only private residence in LA which had a permanent fireworks permit. Many people are, of course, curious as to what Hugh Hefner's bedroom looked like at the Playboy Mansion. As it turned out, his fabled fortress in Los Angeles isn't actually the first one he purchased. That was in Chicago. According to Fancy Pants Homes, the Chicago pad was bought by Heff in 1959, boasting the following cheeky message on its front door: "If you don't swing, you don't ring." As for the magazine mogul's most private quarters, as writer Tom Wolfe once wrote upon entering the Chicago mansion, the bedroom had, quote, "the biggest, roundest bed in the history of the world." Of course, Wolfe wasn't the only writer to have come across the Playboy Mansion's most intimate lair. In fact, Hefner would regularly invite journalists to his bedroom. As ITN described in 1966, the founder lived more like a hermit than a tycoon, adding, Hefner controlled his kingdom from the 7-foot, circular, power-driven, vibratable bed, which rotates as well.
Control that literally can take the can take the bed around for a full 360 degrees.
How's that for a work-from-home situation? Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.